A true story that still puzzles the world. On the night of March 8, 2014, a routine international flight took off from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. It was a red-eye flight, the kind many passengers take to sleep through the journey and wake up in another country. The aircraft was a Boeing 777-200ER, one of the safest and most reliable long-distance airplanes in the world. Its destination was Beijing, China. The flight number was MH370. On board were 239 people, 227 passengers, and 12 crew members. Families, business travelers, tourists, and students filled the seats. Some were returning home, some were starting new journey. None of them knew they would become part of one of the greatest mysteries in aviation history, a normal takeoff. MH370 took off at 12:41 a.m. local time. The weather was calm. There was no reports of technical problem. The aircraft climbed smoothly to its cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. Inside the cabin, most passengers were likely relaxing, watching movies, or sleeping. In the cockpit were two experienced pilots, Captain Zahri Ahmad Shah and First Officer Farik Hamid. Both were trained professionals. For the first 40 minutes, everything was normal. Then something changed. The last words. At 1:19 a.m., as the plane prepared to leave Malaysian airspace and enter Vietnamese airspace, the co-pilot spoke the final known word from MH370. Good night, Malaysian 370. It was a routine sign-off. Planes often switch communication from one country's air traffic control to another. But MH370 never checked in with Vietnam. Within minutes, the plane's transponder, the system that sends location and identify signals, stopped transmitting. On civilian radar, MH370 simply vanished. At first, controllers thought it might be a minor communication delay that sometimes happens, but minutes turned into hours. The plane did not arrive in Beijing. MH370 was missing. A strange turn. Military radar later revealed something surprising. After disappearing from civilian radar, MH370 turned around flew back across the Malay Peninsula. This was not part of its flight plan. The aircraft then continued flying northwest, then south, over the Andaman Sea. After that, it was no longer tracked by radar. This raised huge questions. Why did the plane change direction? Why was the transponder turned off? Who was controlling the aircraft? Investigators could not answer immediately. Satellite clues. Even though radar lost the plane, satellites still exchange faint signals with it. These were not voice messages, just automated handshakes between the aircraft and a satellite. Engineers studied these signals carefully by analyzing timing and frequency shifts. Experts concluded the plane likely flew south into the Indian Ocean for several hours after disappearing. This meant MH370 traveled far off course, even one of the most remote ocean areas on Earth. Eventually, the plane would have run out of fuel, but where exactly it ended up remained unknown. The disappearance triggered a massive international search effort. Countries involved include Malaysia, Australia, China, United States, United Kingdom, and many others. Ships, airplanes, satellites, and underwater vehicles were deployed. Search team scanned millions of square kilometers of ocean. It became the largest and most expensive search operation in aviation history. Despite this effort, the ocean gave very few clues. Pieces of debris. Over a year, nothing was found. Then in July 2015, a piece of aircraft debris washed ashore on Reunion Island in the Indian Ocean. It was identified as a flaperon, a wing part from a Boeing 777. Over the next few years, more debris pieces were found along African coastlines and islands. These discoveries confirmed one thing: MH370 had indeed crashed into the Indian Ocean, but the main wreckage, the fuselage, black boxes, and most of the plane was still missing. What could have happened? Many theories has been discussed. None have been proven. Mechanical failure? Some experts considered a sudden technical issue like cabin depressurization. If oxygen level dropped, passengers and crew could become unconscious. The plane might then continue on autopilot until fuel exhaustion. Human action? Others looked at the possibility of deliberate action by someone in the cockpit, then route change and disabled transponder suggested intentional control. However, nuclear motive or evidence was ever confirmed. Fire or electrical problem? A fire or system malfunction might have forced pilots to change course while dealing with the emergency. Hijacking. Early speculation including hijacking, but no group ever claimed responsibility and no evidence strongly supported it. Even today, investigators cannot say with certainty what happened. The families left behind. While the world followed the mystery, families of passengers faced heartbreak and uncertainties. They waited for news. They attended briefings. They hoped for answers. For many, the lack of closure was the hardest part. Without knowing what happened, grief becomes complicated. Questions remain forever. Memorials were held in several countries to honor those on board. Continue searches. The official underwater search led by Australia ended in 2017 after scanning over 120,000 square kilometers without finding the wreckage. A private company later conducted another search in 2018, also without success. From time to time, discussions arise about starting the search using new technology. The ocean is vast and deep. Some areas are extremely difficult to explore. Lessons learned. Even though MH370 remains a mystery, it changed aviation in important ways. Better tracking. Airlines and regulators began pushing for improved real-time tracking of aircraft. Satellite monitoring. There is now greater focus on global tracking systems that work even over oceans. Communication protocols. Procedures for lost communication situations have been reviewed and improved. Aviation safety evolves from learning even from tragedies. Why the mystery captures the world? MH370 fascinates people because it challenges modern assumptions. In an age of GPS, satellites, and constant connectivity, how can a large airplane disappear? The mystery reminds us that despite technology, some parts of our world, like the deep ocean, remains unexplored. It also shows how global aviation connects countries and how a single event can affect the entire world. At its heart, MH370 is not just a mystery story, it is a human story. 239 lives, 239 families, 239 journeys that never reached their destination. Every investigation, article, and documentary ultimately circles back to one hope: understanding what happened and honoring those who were lost. The ongoing question: where exactly is MH370? Will it ever be found? Will the black boxes ever be recovered? No one knows. But history shows some mysteries are solved decades later. Technology improves, oceans are mapped, new clues emerge. Perhaps one day the full story of MH370 will be known. Until then, it remains one of aviation's greatest puzzles.